Our essential question for this lesson is, how did Protestants and Catholics set themselves apart? As you know from our previous reading, the Reformation was a time of great change for religion. At first, it started as a movement to reform or change the Catholic Church. However, the church was pretty stubborn, so instead Christianity started to break off into different branches, as you can see in this image. Back when Christianity started after Jesus' death, there was really only one type of Christianity. When the Roman Empire split into East and West, the Byzantines started their own branch of Christianity called the Eastern Orthodox Church, and Western European Christianity became known as Roman Catholicism, or being Catholic. During the Reformation, you see that there are some cracks in the road in the image, representing all the problems and corruption with the church that you learned about. You then see the road split again into Catholicism and Protestantism. In this video, you are going to learn about the major similarities between being Protestant and being Catholic. So here we have a double bubble map of Protestants and Catholics. So in the middle, we're going to share some similarities. You do not need to write all of this down. It's just going to take too long. You will take notes and make your own double bubble map at the end of the lesson. So one thing that they have in common is that they're both Christians. They both also believe in Jesus, right? Because a denomination means that it's a branch of Christianity. So essentially, even though they belong to different churches, they are still Christian. They believe in one God, and they read the Holy Bible. And for the differences, Catholics believe that the Pope and priest are experts at interpreting the Bible, whereas Protestants believe that people should read the Bible themselves. Okay, Catholics believe that the Pope is the leader of the church and is chosen by God. However, the Protestants believe that the people of the church are all leaders and can all be experts in the religion. For Catholics, there's lots of traditions and ceremonies, religious art and decorations, whereas for Protestants, studying the Bible and personal prayer, simple clothes, and churches is more important. Catholics believe that Mary was Jesus' mom, which makes her holy. And Protestants believe that Mary was Jesus' mom, but she was just a human. Okay, so here are similarities in blue. Differences for the Catholics are in red. Differences for the Protestants are in green. So here are some pictures of Protestant churches, which are very simple. And then here you see Catholic churches, which are very more decorated with more art and more statues and figures of saints. Okay, here we have some Catholic garments that people wear. And here's the Pope, right? He's no longer the Pope. He used to be the Pope. But you can see that he has a lot of clothing. He's wearing a ring, right? A fancy hat. And then here are some pictures of like Protestant clothing, which is much more simple. By the year 1560, Protestant denominations were becoming popular in various areas of Europe. You can see on this map that the green areas were mostly Protestant, including England and Germany, but dark orange areas like Spain, France, and the city-states of Italy remained Catholic. The Catholic Church and other Catholic leaders wanted to make sure that these countries stayed Catholic and that Protestantism didn't spread any further. The actions that they took to try to keep Europe as Catholic as possible are together called the Counter-Reformation. Counter means to go against. The Catholic Church was going against the Reformation led by the Protestants, such as Luther, Calvin, and Henry VIII. So the Counter-Reformation is the church's attempt to win back their followers. So the Catholic Church tried a few things to win back their followers and their power. So the first thing was the Inquisition. So the Catholic Church tried hard to fight the spread of Protestantism by going after heretics or anyone that they considered not Catholic enough. The church also looked to Catholic rulers to support its effort and to win back lands where many people had become Protestant. King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella of Spain supported the Catholic Church and wanted Spain to stay a Catholic country. They set up a court called the Spanish Inquisition, which put people on trial for doing anything un-Catholic. Torture was used to get people to confess un-Catholic behavior. If they found you guilty, all your belongings were taken away from your family and you were killed. They went after not just Protestants, but also Jews and Muslims. The Pope similarly set up the Roman Inquisition in Rome to look for and arrest people for dangerous, un-Catholic views. They even had a list of books they said offended Catholicism and banned people from reading them. This included books about science and other ways of thoughts. Another strategy or another person in the Counter-Reformation was Queen Mary, or Bloody Mary, the Queen of England. And after King Henry VIII died because he never had any sons, his daughter Mary became Queen of England. Mary had been raised Catholic and her Spanish mother was Catholic, and so she wanted to make England a Catholic kingdom again. Mary restored the Catholic Church in England and arrested Protestants who opposed her. She also burned 300 Protestants alive at the stake. The English were horrified and called her Bloody Mary. Queen Mary was not successful at making England Catholic again. She ruled about 5 years, then died. Her half-sister Elizabeth took over, becoming Queen Elizabeth. Elizabeth was a Protestant, so she restored the Anglican Church, giving herself power over both government and religion, just as her father, King Henry VIII, had done. So here's our Bloody Mary. She burned Protestants at the stake. Another strategy of the church was the Council of Trent. The Catholic Church eventually realized that in addition to fighting Protestantism, they also needed to fight the corruption in their own church and make some reforms. As a result, Pope Paul III set up the Council of Trent, a group of church leaders who had several meetings. At these meetings, they clarified Catholic beliefs and how they were different and better than Protestants. They agreed with the Protestants about having a true faith in Jesus and the Bible, but they emphasized that good deeds were also important and that people should trust the church leaders to interpret the Bible for them. The council also worked to reform themselves by setting stricter policies for the clergy to follow and better training programs for becoming a priest. It told priests that they needed to spend more time preaching and less time focusing on worldly things. The council also corrected many of the abuses involving money and leadership positions. Lastly, this is something that we've learned about, is the missionaries. In 1540, Pope Paul III recognized a new order of priests called the Jesuits. I used to work for the Jesuits at a Catholic school here in Boyle Heights, just FYI. They focused on education and started new schools and colleges. This brought many Europeans back to the Catholic Church. They also focused on getting new followers outside of Europe by sending missionaries to Africa, Asia, and the Americas. Missionaries are people who go on missions to teach people about their religion and hope to convert them. The missionaries were more successful in some areas than others. For example, the Japanese shogun and the Emperor of Vietnam both kicked out and banned missionaries in their countries. On the other hand, the missionaries from Spain had much greater success in the Philippine Islands. Today, the Philippines is the only Asian country with a Catholic majority. Spanish missionaries also had great success in Central and South America. To this day, these countries remain predominantly Catholic. So, as you can see in the map, religious conflicts between Protestants and Catholics continued for decades, and many were killed. These conflicts turned into the 30 Years' War, which really lasted 30 years, from 1618 to 1648. By the end, it wasn't just about religion, but European leaders fighting for power and land as well. So here are some battles that happened for actual fighting. Okay, and the dots mean the persecution of Protestants. As we can see, there was a lot of them, right? And then, the 30 Years' War. All right, that is the end of our lesson.